Sorry, not to imagine the orchestra. If I play the actual music, I get with a copyright claim. What? Is John Williams' impression not working? No. How about Leopold's? Hey there, friends and neighbors, welcome back. Welcome to another edition of the Chronicles. I am your host, Jedi Phoenix, as always. Good to see you here. Hope everything's going well in your little corner of the world, wherever you are. Doing something a little different with this video. Instead of showing off any lightsabers, I did mention in my very first video, there's going to be a lot of Star Wars talk in general. And one thing I am a big fan of is not just Star Wars music, but movie music in general. John Williams, James Horner, Alan Silvestri, Hans Zimmer, any of them. Anything that sounds, just elevates the movie to something bigger than it should be, I always go for. And the Star Wars music is some of the best music out there. I think if you're a fan, you would definitely have to agree. So what I want to do with this video is talk about what I feel are the best pieces of music for each one of the Star Wars movies. We're going to do the main 9 episodes, as well as the 2 spin-offs, Rogue One and Solo. And I'm going to start off with the prequels. We're going to do them in order, 1 through 9. One thing I'm going to mention right off the bat, this is just my opinion, and I am not a musician. I cannot read sheet music. I don't know music theory or anything like that. I'm just going by whatever sounds good to my ear. All right, but this is basically what I feel are the single one best piece of music from every Star Wars movie, and all of these you can find on the soundtracks. There are no hidden tracks on them anywhere. I'm going to include a YouTube link in the description for each one of these selections. So if you ever wanted to peruse it for yourself and listen to find out what I'm talking about, feel free. So first, of course, is Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And there's quite a few good pieces of music in here from the movie itself. You have Anakin's theme, which is kind of a whimsical child dreaming about something better, but there is that little hint of Darth Vader's theme, the Imperial March, if you listen close. And a lot of the battle scenes, have really thrilling music that work in the context of the movie itself. But one thing I do try to keep in mind when I'm doing these selections are what sticks in my head after the movie, what always runs in my head. That works independent of the movie itself. See, some pieces of music work great in a movie, but they're not as great, on like a soundtrack. They don't stick out as much. And when we're keeping that in mind, the one piece from Episode 1 that should come to your mind is not even a contest, it's a Duel of the Fates. The big fight between Darth Maul, Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan. It was so good that Williams used it throughout all the prequels here and there. I mean, that tune plays, you just want to take a lightsaber and start going to battle, Anybody doing a fan film, they have to have that piece of music in mind. Right from the opening chorus, and you know the one that I mean. So, definitely one of his best not just in terms of Star Wars, but in terms of his music in general. He really pulled a rabbit out of the hat with that one, I think. So that would be Episode 1. Episode 2, a little bit harder for me to come up with one track, only because there's not too many standouts. There is a really nice bit of Yoda's theme when he's talking with the younglings and he's training them. a lot of the space battles, the chase from Obi-Wan and Anakin chasing the bounty hunter through Coruscant. That's a really nice highlight. But the one track for me that really stands out is the love theme for Padme and Anakin. Say what you will about the dialogue, I know some of it is clunky, but the music itself works as far as conveying the real Romeo and Juliet tragic aspect of the love affair. Jedi can't have attachments, and of course we know what ends up, Anakin's final fate. But there's several versions of it in the movie. The one that I like the best isn't the concert version from the soundtrack. It's actually the version that they play during the finale, the end credits of the movie, because at the end of that, near the end of that track, Williams balances out the love theme with there are hints of Anakin's theme near the very end, and as it goes into that mournful tone of the love theme, if you listen real close, and unfortunately it's not in the main film itself, it's in the soundtrack only, and that's the one I'm going to provide a link with in the description. You can hear very faintly Darth Vader's theme overlaid beneath the love theme, kind of a dark hint as of what's to come. It's really nice. It's little touches like that I love John Williams so much. So Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, of course, is the big one that we were all waiting on, the one where Anakin becomes Vader. For me, this one has a lot of great pieces of music on the soundtrack and in the film. It was a little hard for me to pick, but the one that I keep on circling back to is the Battle of the Heroes, which is the concert version of the duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan. It's like Duel of the Fates. It's got that choral element, but whereas Duel of the Fates is really built off the kinetic energy of the main lightsaber duel in Episode 1, Battle of the Heroes is a little more emotionally driven, I think, because if you follow the prequels and you're really invested into it, Anakin and Obi-Wan, almost two brothers that are like copies of each other as far as skill and ability. They end up having to fight each other, and we all know the final fate of what happens in that. But it's just it really brings out the emotion of the duel, and if you just let yourself sink into it, it just sounds so good. So that's the prequels, and after that, of course, we have the original trilogy, or the classic trilogy, if you will. And this is, of course, where Williams really lets it all hang out. The late 70s, prior to this, Williams had done Jaws, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and as good as those films were, those scores, I should say, that was just him flexing his muscles, getting ready for the Olympic weightlifting contest that was to come around, because it was in the late 70s, and then, well, I feel anyways, in the 80s and the early 90s, where Williams really hit his golden age. So many good soundtracks. But as far as the very first movie, Star Wars, you have the classic themes. You have the main theme, Luke's theme, you have Leia's theme. The one piece of music that really stands out for me is Ben's death in the TIE Fighter attack, which starts off very soft Force theme, and then there's that little stinger of the strings as Ben gets cut down by Vader, and then it goes into Leia's theme, which not really anything to do with the character herself, but it's more for the emotional aspect of the scene. It really nails that. But I know I'm kind of rambling here, but just getting my thoughts down. But after that, there's a little bit of a build-up until the Rebel fanfare with the TIE fighters chasing down the Falcon, and the Rebel fanfare I'm talking about. It's really energy driven, it's pulse pounding, it's suspenseful, it's exciting. If you're driving in your car and you have that on a CD, I challenge you not to hit the pedals of the metal and go flying down the freeway. It's just really is a really fun track to listen to. So that's episode 4. Then, of course, we come to Empire Strikes Back. Coming up with one piece of music above all the others for this movie was extremely hard because there's just so many of them. You have the Imperial March, first and foremost. You have Yoda's theme. You have the Battle of Hoth. The duel between Luke and Vader near the end of the film. So many classic pieces, but the one piece of music from that score that I keep coming back to is the asteroid chase, which starts off after Luke makes his jump into hyperspace. The track kicks off with the Falcon being chased by the TIE fighters, and it just builds to a crescendo as Han takes the Falcon into the asteroid field. It's just really pulse-pounding. Listen to the track. If you don't know the one I'm talking about, listen to the track. I'll include it in the description of this video. It's quintessential Williams, because Empire Strikes Back is really the gateway. Not the gateway, what's the word I'm looking for? The beginning of the Williams Renaissance leading into the 80s. Speaking of the 80s, that brings us to Return of the Jedi. And again, very hard for me to pick one track out from the score because there's so many good ones. You have the Emperor's theme, you have Luke and Leia's theme. Even the Ewoks, even though some people are crazy about them, the theme just fits them perfectly. But the one track that I keep coming back to, and I've listened to the score over and over and over and over, the track I come back to is the sail barge battle, when Luke is rescuing Han and along with everybody else from Jabba the Hutt. On the original soundtrack album for Return of the Jedi, it's called The Return of the Jedi, which I guess fits because it is the scene where Luke gets his new lightsaber. We see that he's improved on his abilities. He's no longer the wet behind the ears Jedi that he was in Empire Strikes Back. He's learned. He's more matured. And, between showcasing Luke's theme and there's even hints of the Rebel fanfare is in it, and it builds in suspense as they get caught into a jam. Again, you listen to the track, you'll know what I mean. It's just really a really neat track to listen to, and it's just classic Williams. What can I say? So that wraps up the original trilogy, which takes us now to the sequel trilogy. And I'm not going to get into whether or not the sequels worked, at least not on a grand scale. Maybe I'll touch on it a little bit as we go on this. But first, of course, is The Force Awakens, Episode 7. This one did have some very nice pieces in it. There was a Rey's theme, there's a Resistance theme, the First Order theme. The one track from the soundtrack I really, really like is the finale, which is the end credits, and it may sound like a little bit of a cheat because it is a montage of all the new themes that Williams wrote for the movie, but I don't mean it as a cheat. It's just a really nice presentation of the new themes. There was the classic Star Wars theme, and then there's Rey's theme, the First Order, then the Resistance. The reason I love this track so much is the end of the track has a very nice presentation of the Force theme, and it kind of mashes up with Rey's theme, as she is to be the new Jedi of the sequels. And it just really is a nice mashup. It builds up her theme, and then the track just ends quietly, a quiet piano of the first part of Luke's theme. Rather than the bombastic fanfare that the Star Wars films usually end with, this one just fades quiet. You know, and it's just a nice, something different from Williams, you know? And different is good. So from episode 7, we go to episode 8, The Last Jedi. I don't mind this movie as much as a lot of people do. It does have its faults, but I didn't mind it as much as other people. The score, though, I did have a little bit of a hard time trying to single one piece out. The music works great in the movie, but outside of that, on the CD, there is one track that really stands out to me. It's the Battle of Crate, where, you know, the big finale at the end, the rebels are making their last stand. Excuse me, the resistance, whatever, they're rebels. You know it, I know it. They're making their last stand on the planet Crate, and the First Order is coming in to do their thing, and trying to take out their door knocker, for lack of a better description of what that oversized cannon is. The Resistance has their their skiffs or speeders or whatever you want to call it. And, you know, the Resistance theme is really nicely represented, but the part I love of the track is when the Falcon shows up to take out the TIE fighters. And from there we get the classic TIE fighter chase from the original Star Wars. And it just sounds great. It's a really nice addition to the track, and it really elevates it, I think. So from episode 8, we then go to episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Yeah. I'll be honest, I don't hate this movie like a lot of other people do, but if you were to ask me what my thought was on Rise of Skywalker, I would say, it's alright. Yeah. That's my biggest problem with the movie. I didn't want... We're talking about the last of the Skywalker movies. I didn't want, it's alright. I wanted Star Wars Endgame. Okay? If you're familiar with the Marvel movies, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I wanted to be blown out of my socks. You know, I just wanted this to be the huge, live up to the hype kind of movie that it really deserved. And instead, for me anyways, I got, it's alright. And unfortunately, I really had a hard time picking a piece of the soundtrack for this video. Because as much as I hate to say it, there really wasn't anything that stands out. You know, at least outside of the movie. In the movie, it works. Don't get me wrong. But outside of the movie rather, on CD, there wasn't really anything that jumped out. So on this one, I am going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to present to you the finale for Rise of Skywalker, the end credit music. Mainly because Williams does roll out a blazing version of the Imperial March, as well as the classic Star Wars opening fanfare in the end credits, which might sound a little awkward, but you don't beat the classic themes. All right, and in this case it works, but that's really the only highlight of that one for me. So that's episodes 1 through 9. But going into the spin-offs, first of all we have Rogue One, conducted by Michael Giacchino, who is Also known for the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies. He's also done Jurassic World. He's got a lot of great stuff out there too. He had the really hard task of doing a Star Wars soundtrack to kind of make it his own, but also make it sound like it belonged in a Star Wars movie. And he really did well, I think. There's a lot of great tracks. There is that one track where Director Krennic runs into Lord Vader, and don't choke on your aspirations. But the one piece of music that really stands out for me is called Your Father Would Be Proud. And this is the track near the end of the movie where the members of Rogue One, the members that are left of Rogue One, they finish their mission. They've beamed up the Death Star plans to the rebels, and it's not a bombastic, action-packed piece. It's I don't know if mournful is the right word, but it is somber and solemn, because that's when we really see that Rogue One was basically a suicide mission. Spoilers. And it just is a beautiful piece to listen to, even outside of the film. Inside the film, it works wonders. But even outside of the film, it's just a beautiful piece to listen to. Michael Giacchino really nailed it. And the last movie to talk about very briefly is Solo, which of course is the early adventures of our favorite rogue, Smuggler. Again, John Williams doesn't do this one. John Powell, I believe, does the honors for this one, and he does a great job. This one has some very nice pieces as well. John Williams came back for one lone track to give Hans finally his own theme, and Powell sprinkles it throughout the score. But the one track that to me really works in there is it's called Reminiscence Therapy. And what Powell does with this, it's for the scene where Han, Chewie, and Lando and company escape from Kessel, and they've got to avoid the Imperial blockade to get away from it. And what Powell does is he takes a bunch of the classic themes, including the asteroid chase, the TIE fighter attack from the original Star Wars, and he just combines it with Han's theme and makes a really nice action-packed piece out of it to listen to. And the thing about the classic themes, maybe it is nostalgia, maybe it is fan service, but it works. It really works. So those are the 9, 10, 11 Star Wars movies, soundtrack highlights. Give them a listen. Let me know if there's any pieces of music, if you are a soundtrack fan, a Star Wars soundtrack fan, if there's any other pieces you want to mention as your favorites in the comments, feel free. And until the next video, be good, be safe, be well, and be happy.